Greetings. The What It Takes Radio Company is proud to present you, the world, need to tell your story and the world needs to hear it. And you need to be a world-class podcaster. And we keep telling you that we are different and that very few will ever tell you that your voice is very important. Well, we do, and then we tell you what you need to do. Greetings, friends, ladies and gentlemen, broadcasters, world-class communicators. All of those are descriptions or certainly aspirations, and we want to continue on our weekly lessons on how we're going to be world-class podcasters. Now, we have insisted throughout this program that we're different, and I hope we will demonstrate that again. If you go through the lessons we've had before, you will discover that it really is about your being, what you're really all about, who you are. In effect, you are the program. It's not just the content or the topic that you have. Remember, all true communication is person to person. It is me and everything there is about me, and at least my performance in front of you, and it's you who are there with all kinds of things going on in your life, and we're going to try and see if I can be helpful and useful to you. That's the deal. It's not a program, it's not a topic, it's people helping one another, and perhaps even enjoying the performing, the talking, the speaking, maybe the loving and embracing eventually, if we can come to that point, together. That's what it's all about. And so it's not just learning how to run a tape recorder or to run a modern tape machine or how to make a recording. It's not how to choose a topic. It's how for you to really decide who you are, what you're all about, and what you'd like to share with others. And that is the only way your program is going to be sustained, if it truly reflects you. And it's not just a topic of information. But there's another part of it that is hardly ever mentioned. And of course, this goes back, unfortunately, to my age and stage. Because one of the things that happened to me was this. Let me just tell you about it. As I was going through Brown Institute of Broadcasting, and I was working very hard. I'd been a teacher. I'd done a lot of work in our church, speaking, and I was really there. I wanted to be a broadcaster, and I worked so hard. And you see, not only did they teach me things like, how to actually pass a first-class radio test, because in doing so, that meant that a small radio station would be likely to hire me, because then I could fulfill two things for them. They had to have a certified engineer within 30 miles of the station, and they actually had to have somebody who could do a broadcast. And so those were things that went into my training. And then I had to learn how to actually write a powerful 60-second commercial, because if I was going to be a broadcaster, I'm going to have to help the radio station make money. I'm going to have to be not only the one who performs the commercial or the promotion, I'm perhaps going to have to be the one who goes out and sells it, and maybe even writes the copy for it. And all of those are things they taught us to do. But they also turned on our voice. And so what happened is that we not only had our staff of the teachers listening to us when we were doing our what were called mic shots. That's when we were on the mic. That's when we were on the air. But then we were forced, expected, that every week we would turn in a cassette tape in which we had done at least 1 full hour of practice, where we had picked up the newspaper and performed it. We heard about a commercial or something, and that we then wrote it down and performed it. They wanted to listen to us and see how we sounded. And then what happened was that Mr. Mike, who was one of the deans and had become a very, very good friend. Not only, I mean, he was really for me because most of the students were younger people who were just out of high school sometimes and just out of college, and I'd already been a public school teacher for over 12 years. So I was very serious about this, and the fact that I took the class at night because I couldn't be during the day school, since I actually had a full-time job that was very, very, demanding on me as a teacher. So he was for me. But he called me in and he said, Stan, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen to me? He said, Stan, here's the deal. You have incredible potential. You work very hard, you're bright, you're smart, and we want you to succeed here. And for the most part, things are pretty good, except, Stan, if you will listen carefully, as we do, you have a bit of a hissing S. When you speak and when you use the S sounds, you tend not to cut it off. It tends to come out the side of your mouth, and it has a slight hiss to it. And he said, now, when you listen on the tapes, from now on, I want you to notice that. And he said, because here's the deal. You have to clear that up. You have to work on it so that you don't have a hissing S, because that will get in the way of a successful career. Now, I guarantee you that if most of you had heard me speak at that time, you would have no idea what he was talking about. Maybe if it was pointed out to you, you could carefully hear it, but they heard it. And so they told me what to do, and they told me to practice. And now, not only every week, they wanted me to practice every hour. 1 hour, not every hour. It felt that way, but practice every hour of the day. Just do that. Remind yourself. Make sure you're having a reading session in which there are S sounds, and learn how to speak them and speak them well. And after 2 weeks, we'll listen to your tape and we'll decide. And if you haven't cleared it up, we're going to ask you to leave the program and we'll refund your tuition. What do you think of that? Well, I passed the test because I really did work at it. And I began to discover just what they were talking about. And I began to sense how I could open my mouth and really enunciate and do my dictation and learn how to cut things off. And that was just one of a number of things about how to use your voice as an instrument of communication. And I began to sound different. I began to sound like one of those radio professionals who are really good at what they do. And people would even notice. They would hear me in church. They would hear me in some other presentation. And they would say, some of them would come out and say, are you on the radio? And eventually people actually started to call me the voice. And that's been a term that has been used for me for many years now. It's not that I'm really good at all of that, but my voice is strong. It's always strong. And I open my mouth and I breathe deeply. Often I make a point of even doing my radio work while I'm standing up. Now, some of you who've had music training, you are getting it already. You're saying, Stan, that's what I learned in choir from my music professor or my music teacher. And that is how to create resonance in your voice, how to create pause and effect, how to use the tone and the pitch and the volume in such a way that it is not just the spoken word, it is the performed word. Now, let me tell you, most of the podcasters don't have a clue. There's nothing about them that is attractive, engaging, about their voice. It's okay. It sounds kind of like everybody else's sometime, But if you want to have that critical difference, and someone says, well, we just want to whenever they say they just want it to sound conversational, what they're saying is we want it to sound like everybody else. And that's okay to a point, which means you are engaging with people. But what they don't know is that people expect that you have a voice with authority, that it has that overused sometime word, gravitas. It's got gravity to it. It's got a sound to it. It has an authority to it. Now, let me tell you, part of the unfairness of this is, of course, that the deeper your voice, the better it sounds on the radio. And so if you're a woman with a high-pitched soprano voice, it's really hard. You're going to have to learn how to deepen the resonance in your voice. And that's not fair. You bet it's not fair. But many cases, at least when you're in the professional world, and just listen for it. Those women who are on the television professionally, on the radio, tend to have at least a practiced and a performance resonance and deepness to their voice. They have to take their voice and how it's presented and how they perform it seriously. I just want you to know that. Now, there are things you can do, and I can recommend and I can give you things that will help you. But this lesson is for you to be aware that if you want to be, a professional sounding, a world-class radio performer, not just an announcer or speaker, you're going to have to learn how to use, and you might say not only use, but how to engage with the very sound of your voice. That how you speak and the sound that it has. Remember, people can't see you. And a lot of how people interpret you is through your, not only the voice, but your own performance. The language of love, the language that's not spoken. Everything about you has to have a sense of a voice. Actually, what has happened is that sometimes people will say, I'm surprised. I thought you were taller. Oh, well, or whatever, something like that, which means is that my voice had given, and I'm not short, but I'm not 6'1", but my voice had given them a picture of me. And that picture is the one that helped them as they listened to me and had an idea of what I was or who I was. So I just want that to sit on your head for a while. And I want you now to spend time on listening to others, the announcers, the program directors, the speakers on the radio, the speakers on television. Notice how they're using their voice. Start to try and imitate some of that. If you see a good commercial, see if you can imitate it. Try now to become, as the old RCA picture showed of the dog listening on the gramophone, and the line was his master's voice. And he could recognize his master by the voice. So please remember, it's time now for you to get some help and get some training. And this is where you may have to ask me, and I can coach and counsel you and your people. I'm not free, but we can find a way where we will help you develop the world-class sound that you may want to have. I hope you do want to have it. I hope you do at least want to have a better sounding a more fuller, resonant, more engaging sound, that you actually learn some of the pause and effect and finalization. And we can perhaps give you some examples of how that can work. So think about that. Ask me questions about that. Go to the YouTube and say something like this. I want a video on how to use my voice better. Perhaps I can recommend some of the people to you who will have, as one of my friends Barbara does, she says, how to have a full voice sound. So there we go, my friends. If you want to be a world-class podcaster, it's a challenge, but you're going to have to learn how to have the voice of a radio master. Hey, all the best and blessings. You've got work to do, and I'm here to help you because I want you to make a difference in the world. In fact, I want you to perhaps help make a better world, maybe a different world even. So reach out to me at stanhusted@gmail.com, stanhusted@gmail.com, and continue to go back and watch all of the programs in this channel called Reaching Your Audience. That's what we want to do. We want to help you reach your audience. We want to bring your message to life. And you know what? Perhaps even give you a touch of immortality. That's what we do. We believe we do it well, and we want to do it for you. Till next time, bye for now. We thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your patience. Please reach out to us because we can help you. stanhusted@gmail.com, stanhusted@gmail.com, and check out our YouTube channel, Reaching Your Audience and Being a World-Class Podcaster. And you can leave us a message at 520-664-7002 USA. And this program is brought to you by the What It Takes Radio Company.